Toph Beifong is obviously one of the best characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender. She's a 12-year-old blind girl with incredible earthbending skill who makes the show more lively and fun with every episode she's in, all while beating up countless villains. But on top of that, she also plays a huge role in saving the world. So much so that I think Ozai may have won the war if it hadn't been for Toph. So in this video, I'm going to explain why that is. This is how Toph's earthbending saved the world. Toph is Aang's earthbending teacher, and so without her, Aang wouldn't know any earthbending. Everything that Aang knows how to do in regards to earthbending was taught to him by Toph, and it was a very difficult process. In the world of Avatar, air and earth are kind of opposites. Air is the element of freedom, of spirituality, of evasiveness, of letting go of earthly attachments, whereas earthbending is literally about being grounded, being persistent, being strong, and facing your problems head on. Airbenders are taught to avoid conflict, to use their abilities to dodge attacks and keep their distance from their opponent. Earthbenders, on the other hand, are taught to stand their ground and fight their opponent directly. Learning earthbending meant that Aang had to completely change his way of thinking and his way of approaching conflict. That's not an easy thing to do, meaning that from the get-go, Toph had an incredibly hard job. And she didn't have anyone to help her, not like how Katara had Master Pakku or Zuko had the dragons. So Toph was the youngest of Aang's bending teachers, didn't have any help, and had to teach Aang the element that was the most difficult for him to learn. I mean, Aang did have that mental block when it came to firebending in books 2 and 3, but in the first book, before he hurt Katara, Aang had no problem producing fire. He was full of passion and drive, the things that fuel firebending. Earthbending, on the other hand, was just antithetical to everything he was taught growing up. Toph didn't just have to get him to move past one mental block to access the ability he already had, she basically had to completely rewire his brain to think about approaching problems in a different way, which is no small task. Despite all of that, Toph put in the work and succeeded in teaching Aang to become a very skilled earthbender. I'd even say that because Aang had such a difficult time learning earthbending, it's likely that without Toph, Aang never would have learned that element at all, because who else could have possibly gotten him to change his way of thinking so drastically? So with all of that in mind, I want to talk about rock armor. This is one of the earthbending moves that Aang learned from Toph. In the episode Bitter Work in Season 2, Toph makes an armor suit out of rocks and leaves an eye hole despite the fact that she's blind. I've heard that the art book for The Last Airbender explains this, and the real reason is apparently just that it was a mistake by the animators and it wasn't caught in time, but I like to believe that Toph did it intentionally because she was trying to teach Aang about the rock armor, and he would need an eye hole if he were to try it for himself. And in fact, he does later do this when facing off against Azula in the Crystal Catacombs beneath Ba Sing Se. Not that it helps very much. Azula kinda knocks him right out of it pretty quickly, but the rock armor does make a return in a couple different forms in Book 3 when Aang's facing off against Ozai, and in that fight it is a lot more important. That's because Aang's battle against Ozai basically determines the fate of the world. If Aang wins, the war is over, but if Aang loses, Ozai will wipe out the entire Earth Kingdom. And in this fight to save the world, Aang's earthbending skill is by far the most useful. When Ozai blasts him with fire from close range, Aang quickly makes a layer of rock armor to protect himself from the flames. This time, he doesn't make the eye hole, which was definitely a smart move that prevented his face from getting burned to a crisp. But if he hadn't known how to make the rock armor at that moment, Ozai would have annihilated him, or at the very least, severely burned him, even if he had managed to put up a little air shield at the last second. Ozai was just way too close to him, and we've seen that there's limits to how much fire he can deflect with airbending. The even more important form of the rock armor, though, comes soon after that, when Aang retreats into an earth ball armor shield thing, a skill which he must have learned from Toph, and this part is crucial because it doesn't only protect Aang, it also allows him to unlock the Avatar state when Ozai breaks the rock armor ball and hits Aang's back against a protruding rock. I'm still a little unclear on how or why exactly this unlocks the Avatar state. Like, his chakras were locked, right? Because he was shot with lightning when in the Avatar state. If your chakras are locked through injury, can you just unlock chakras with a sharp hit to the site of the injury? Why did no one tell him that earlier? And didn't he have to let go of Katara to activate the Avatar state? But now he can be in the Avatar state and be with Katara? How? Why? I love this show, but I'm still pretty confused about that. It seems kinda just like a convenient plot thing. But anyway, that rock hitting his back is crucial for Aang. It allows him to unlock the Avatar state, which allows him to turn the tide of the battle against Ozai. Without the Avatar state, let's be real, Aang probably would have been killed by Ozai. He was on the defensive the entire time before that. Things were not looking up for him. And Aang was only able to unlock the Avatar state because he put himself in that Earth Ball. I can't think of a way he could have used another element to do that. The closest I could think of would be if he protected himself with an air bubble, which he kind of does for a split second right at the end after Ozai has blasted away his rock ball. But the impression I got from this scene was that the rock behind him only started to erode, revealing the little back pointy bit because Ozai was blasting it with fire for so long. Like, the whole thing is that Ozai kind of doomed himself by causing the thing that unlocked Aang's Avatar state and ultimately led to Aang being able to defeat him. So for Aang, being in the Earth Ball allowed him to take the hit for long enough that the wall could be eroded, exposing the part that hit him in the back. If he had just made an air bubble shield and then been blasted back into the rock, he would have just hit a flat rock wall since the fire hadn't destroyed large chunks of the wall yet, since it seems like his air bubble can't hold up for very long against that level of fire. Maybe I'm interpreting that scene wrong, but that's at least what it seemed like to me, which would mean that without earthbending and without Toph's very skilled instruction, Aang would never have been able to access the Avatar state. From then on out in the fight, Aang is in the Avatar state, so he's able to bend all four elements masterfully thanks to his past lives. So there's no real influence here from Toph. But when he refuses to kill Ozai, that's when another key part of Toph's teachings come into play. The first part of this is that Ozai tries to attack Aang from behind, which he senses by using the same earthbending ability that Toph uses to see. We even see the black and white earthbending sensing animation that we've only seen Toph use before. As far as we know, Toph was the only earthbender in the world at the time who had this skill, so she must have taught it to Aang and then it saved his life. If Aang didn't know earthbending or had learned earthbending from literally anyone else, he probably would have died here. Who knows, maybe if he hadn't learned that skill, he wouldn't have turned his back on Ozai in the first place. But at least with how the scene plays out here, Toph's earthbending instruction really saved Aang's life. And that's not even the only time Toph's earthbending saved Aang. Earlier in Book 2, Toph very literally saved Aang's life single-handedly by holding up an entire massive underground library while it was sinking with Aang still inside of it. And then he got mad at her when Appa was kidnapped at the same time that she was saving his life, even though she did everything she could. And I understand his frustration, but I don't remember him ever apologizing to her for that, which is pretty messed up. But anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. Let's get back to the fight with Ozai. So after Aang senses Ozai's attack, he uses earthbending to subdue Ozai in a way that would not be possible with any of the other elements. With his arms pinned out to the sides like this, he's unable to effectively fight off Aang, which allows Aang to do the little forehead touchy thing that takes away Ozai's bending. If Aang didn't have that earthbending arm pinning move, I'm doubtful he would have been able to get close enough to Ozai to be able to take his bending away, because fire and air certainly don't pin down arms very well, and if there was conveniently water nearby, which there wasn't on the top of this rocky mountain thing, and Aang had frozen Ozai's hands to his sides, Ozai probably could have just melted through them. So not only did the earthbending that Aang learned from Toph allow him to unlock the Avatar state and save his life, it also gave him the opportunity to be able to take Ozai's bending away. Without that earthbending, he probably would have been back on the defensive again, running away from Ozai, unable to get close enough to do the forehead energy bending thing. So without Toph's instruction, or with instruction from someone else, Aang might have lost against Ozai. He might not have unlocked the Avatar state, or avoided Ozai's attack, or been able to take his bending away. He might not have even been able to learn earthbending from anyone else, since it was so difficult for him to learn in the first place. And it was only through Toph's unique teaching style that he was able to master it. Without Toph's earthbending skill, or her skill at teaching earthbending, Aang very well could have lost against Ozai, which would have allowed Ozai to continue his war, to continue burning down the Earth Kingdom. And on top of all of that, while Aang is fighting Ozai, Toph is busy dismantling the entire fleet of Fire Nation airships using metal bending, a type of bending that she invented. Sokka and Suki definitely do their part as well, and they're great, but without Toph, they wouldn't have even been able to get on the ship in the first place. And even if they somehow had managed to get on the ship, they definitely wouldn't have been able to take out all of these firebenders by themselves. I mean, just look at how Toph wipes the floor with these firebenders who are super powered up by Sozin's comet. They don't have any idea how to react against her metal bending, and she takes them all out in seconds. It's incredible. And then she just straight up bends the rudder of the one ship so that it destroys a bunch of others. That's just so cool. Toph's skill in taking down these airships is amazing and probably saved a ton of lives, since the airships were on their way to torch a bunch of Earth Kingdom villages and cities. So not only did Toph teach Aang the earthbending he needed to save the world, but she also used her earthbending and metal bending to save countless lives while Aang was doing the big fight. Toph undoubtedly played a massive role in saving the world, even if she wasn't the one directly fighting Ozai. So that is how Toph's earthbending saved the world, and why Toph is one of the best characters in the series. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to support the production of future videos like this one, I could really use your support over on Patreon. If you are not currently a supporter there, please check it out, as it would help me immensely to be able to keep making videos. And I want to give a huge thank you to all of my current Patreon supporters. This wouldn't be possible without you. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.